Hare Krishna, everybody. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. We have the rare opportunity to hear and be with Srila Prabhupada every single day as he takes us back home, back to Godhead, back to Goloka Vrindavan. Welcome to all of you out in cyberspace. Welcome to all our family members here, and deep family members here. Oh, you told me a fib.
I was here.
Oh, yeah. I asked him if he was here by himself, and he said yes. I thought he had kind of like run away from the family and was going to become a sannyasi.
Yeah, if I don't want to come, he'll bring me here. So.
I see. All right, that's a good sign. Okay, Sanatana Goswami's prayer to the Srimad-Bhagavatam to enlighten us further and further about what we're reading and why. Srimad-Bhagavatam Mahima Stotram from the Sri Krishna Leela Stava by Srila Sanatana Goswami, and it goes like this. Sarva Shastabdi Piyusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratna Prada. O nectar from the ocean Vedas, rich mine of all, the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabho Kalidvandoditaditya Shri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Shri Krishna. Paramananda Padaya Prema Varshakshadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Shri Krishna himself. Madhika Bando Matsangin Madguro Mad Mahadana Mad Nistadaga Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual Hanamujjagadatin Mam Premna Rit Kantayospura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, Hiranyakasipu is preaching to his relatives to pacify their grief from having lost Hiranyaksha, his brother. And we pointed out yesterday that he should listen to his own lecture, because he's doing a lot of spiritual, blissful glorification of spiritual life, but he still wants to cut off the head of Vishnu, so it's a little bit inconsistent. Right now he's right in the middle of a story in which Yamaraj comes as a small boy to preach to the queens of a king that had just left his body, and there with the body on the battlefield. And this is Hiranyakasipu giving all of these stories, trying to pacify his relatives. Text 57, chapter 2, text 7. Thus Yamaraj, in the guise of a small boy, told all the queens, "You are all so foolish that you lament, but do not see your own death. Afflicted by a poor fund of knowledge, you do not know that even if you lament for your dead husband for hundreds of years, you will never get him back alive. And in the meantime, your lives will be finished." Purport. Yamaraj once asked Maharaj Yudhishthira, "What is the most wonderful thing within this world. Maharaj Yudhishthira replied in the Mahabharata, Vanaparva 3:13, 116, Ahanyahani bhutani gachanti ha yamalayam sheshak stavaramat ichanti kim ascharya matak param. Hundreds and thousands of living entities meet death at every moment, but a foolish living being nonetheless thinks himself deathless and does not prepare for death. This is the most wonderful thing in the world. Everyone has to die because everyone is fully under the control of material nature. Yet everyone thinks that he is independent, that whatever he likes he can do, that he will never meet death but live forever, and so on. So-called scientists are making various plans by which living entities in the future can live forever. But while they are thus pursuing such scientific knowledge, Yamaraj in due course of time will take them away from their business of so-called research. Text 58. Hiranyakasipu said, while Yamaraj, in the form of a small boy, was instructing all the relatives surrounding the dead body of Suyagya, everyone was struck with wonder by his philosophical words. They could understand that everything material is temporary, not continuing to exist. Purport. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 2:18. Antabanta ime deha nityasyokta sharirinaha. The body is perishable, but the soul within the body is imperishable. Therefore, the duty of those advanced in knowledge in human society is to study the constitutional position of the imperishable soul and not waste the viable time of human life in merely maintaining the body and not considering life's real responsibility. Every human being should try to understand how the spirit soul can be happy and where he can attain an eternal blissful life of knowledge. Human beings are meant to study these subject matters, not to be absorbed in caring for the temporary body, which is sure to change. No one knows whether he will receive a human body again. There is no guarantee, for according to one's work, he may get any body, from that of a demigod to that of a dog. In this regard, Srila Madhvacharya comments, Aham mama mimanandi tva yatotam anityakam mahadadi yatotam cha nitya chapi tatotita yatotita asvatantraiva pakriti swatantro nitya eva cha yatarta bhutas chapara eka eva janardanaha. O Janardan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is ever existing, but his creation, the material world, is temporary. Therefore, everyone who is captivated by the material energy and absorbed in thinking, I am this body, and everything belonging to this body is mine, is an illusion. One should think only of being eternally a part of Janardhan, and one's endeavor in this material world, especially in this human form of life, should be to attain the association of Janardhan by going back home, back to Godhead. Text 59. After instructing all the foolish relatives of Suyagya, Yamaraj, in the form of a boy, disappeared from their vision. Then the relatives of King Suyagya performed the ritualistic funeral ceremonies. Text 60. Therefore, none of you should be aggrieved for the loss of the body, whether your own or those of others. Only in ignorance does one make bodily distinctions, thinking, who am I? Who are the others? What is mine? What is for others? Purport. In this material world, the conception of self-preservation is the first law of nature. According to this conception, one should be interested in his personal safety and should then consider society, friendship, love, nationality, community, and so on, which have all developed because of the bodily conception of life and a lack of knowledge of the spirit soul. This is called ajnana. As long as human society is in darkness and ignorance, men will continue to make huge arrangements in the bodily conception of life. This is described by Prahlad Maharaj as Bharam. In the materialistic conception, modern civilization makes enormous arrangements for huge roads, moving things from one thing to another by trains. Oh, excuse me. I got waylaid there, but I'll take this advantage and take a little water. Haribol Sarva. Hare Krishna. Well, we got a good driver today, at this time. As long as human society is in darkness and ignorance, men will continue to make huge arrangements in the bodily conception of life. This is described by Prahlad Maharaj as Bharam. In the materialistic conception, modern civilization makes enormous arrangements for huge roads, houses, mills, and factories, and this is man's conception of the advancement of civilization. People do not know, however, that at any time they themselves may be kicked out of the scene and forced to accept bodies that have nothing to do with these enormous houses, palaces, roads, and automobiles. Therefore, when Arjuna was thinking in terms of his bodily relationships with his kinsmen, Krishna immediately chastised him, saying, Tutas tva kashmalamidam vishame samupashtitam anarya jushtam. This bodily conception of life is befitting the anaryas, the non-Aryans, who are not advanced in knowledge. An Aryan civilization is a civilization advanced in spiritual knowledge. Not merely by stamping oneself an Aryan does one become an Aryan. Just ask Hitler. Oh, who's that? Is that Gora? Oh, Hare Krishna. Hey, Sri Kalagya. And son, and grandson, or granddaughter, whatever. Grandson. So nice to see you.
Happy to see you.
So happy to see you too. Hare Krishna. Haven't seen you in a long time. Please make yourself comfortable. We do this every day, you know. Hare Krishna, Mataji. Nice to see you. Hare Bol. Such a long time. Yay, Hare Bol, Hare Krishna. Okay, let's switch around and make some room. No, come and sit somewhere. Sit next to your husband. Yeah, there you go. There you go. We're making room for some old friends. Don't mind. We're reading about the preachings of Hiranyakasipu. You know, Hiranyakasipu, when it came right down to it, and he lost his, brother, and all his family members freaked out. He went through this whole, preaching thing. We made a joke about it yesterday, because he doesn't seem to be able to listen to his own classes. We have to listen to our own classes. If we don't listen to our own classes, we won't know what to do properly. So he's given this whole spiritual exposition, then he's going to go out and try to kill Vishnu, which is anyway. So now he's giving this story, an allegorical story of how Yamaraj showed up as a little boy to preach to the wives of a king who had died on the battlefield. So right in the middle of the purport. Don't mind. Hare Krishna. So nice to see you guys. Okay. Therefore, when Arjuna was thinking in terms of his bodily relationships with his kinsmen, Krishna immediately chastised him, saying, Kutas tva kashmalamidam, vishame samupashtitam, anarya jushtam. This bodily conception of life is befitting the anaryas. The non-Aryans who are not advanced in knowledge. An Aryan civilization is a civilization advanced in spiritual knowledge. Not merely by stamping oneself an Aryan does one become an Aryan. To keep oneself in the deepest, darkest, deepest darkness concerning spiritual knowledge, and at the same time claim to be an Aryan, is a non-Aryan position. In this connection, Srila Madhvacharya quotes as follows from the Brahma-Vaivarta Purana: Ka atma kak pada iti dehadyapekshaya na shatrur udiritaha ato daihikar vidhau va chaye va kim prayojanam yastu dehagato jiva sahinasham nagachchati tatak shatru vibridau cha swat nashe shotanam skuta dehadi vyatiriktau tu jiva shao padijanata ata atma vrividis tu vasudeve vritik stira shatru nashas tatagyana nasho nanya katanchana. The purport is, Hare Krishna, what's his name?
Jai Baladev Chandra.
Jai Baladev Chandra. Whoa, pretty heavy duty name. We can call you Jai for short, or Balaram, or Chandra. We got a lot of options here. We'll see what happens as time passes. Okay, the purport is that as long as we are in this human form of body, our duty is to understand the soul within the body. The body is not the self. We are different from the body. And there's the proof. We all had a body that size. And here we are. Okay. The body is not the self. We are different from the body. And therefore there's no question of friends, enemies, or responsibilities in terms of the bodily conception of life. One should not be very anxious about the body's changing from childhood to boyhood, from boyhood to old. Seriously concerned about the soul within the body and how to release the soul from the material clutches. The living entity within the body is never annihilated. Therefore, one should surely know that it cannot do him any harm. One should know that he is a spirit soul, aham brahmasmi. Soul is unaffected by the changes of the body. In all circumstances, everyone, as a spirit soul, must be a devotee of Lord Vishnu, and should, whether with friends or with enemies. One should know that neither we kill ourselves nor our enemies in the bodily conception of life. Of Hiranyakasipu, along with her daughter-in-law, Rushabhanu, Hiranyaksha's wife, she then forgot her grief over her son's death and thus engaged her mind and attention in understanding the real philosophy of life. Purport: certainly becomes very much interested in philosophy. But when the funeral ceremony is over, one again becomes attentive to materialism. Even daityas, who are materialistic when some relative meets death. The technical term for this is shmashasana vairagya, or detachment in a cemetery or place of cremation. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, 4 classes of men receive an understanding of spiritual life and God. Artha, the distressed; Jigyasu, the inquisitive; Artharti, one who desires material gains; and Jnani, one who is searching for knowledge. Especially when one is very much distressed by material conditions, one becomes interested in God. Therefore, Kunti Devi said in her prayers to Krishna that she preferred distress to a happy mood of life. In the material world, one who is happy forgets Krishna or God, but sometimes, if one is actually pious but in distress, he remembers Krishna. Queen Kunti Devi therefore preferred distress because it is an opportunity for remembering Krishna. When Krishna was leaving Kunti Devi for his own country, Kunti Devi regretfully said that she was better off in distress because Krishna was always present. Whereas now that the Pandavas were situated in their kingdom, Krishna was going away. For a devotee, distress is an opportunity to remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus ends Bhaktivedanta Purports, the 7th canto, 2nd chapter of Srimad-Bhagavatam, entitled Hiranyakasipu, King of the Demons. Okay, another act of the big play is over and we're going to the next act. The curtain is about to open. Chapter 3, Hiranyakasipu's plan to become immortal. This chapter describes how Hiranyakasipu performed a severe type of austerity for material benefit, thus causing great distress throughout the universe. Even Lord Brahma, the chief personality within this universe, became somewhat disturbed and personally went to see why Hiranyakasipu was engaged in such a severe austerity. This is the austerity, yes? This is your austerity, okay. Hare Krishna. Hiranyakasipu wanted to become immortal. He wanted not to be conquered by anyone, not to be attacked by old age and disease, and not to be harassed by any opponent. Thus, he wanted to become the absolute ruler of the entire universe. With this desire, he entered the valley of Mandara mountain and began practicing a severe type of austerity and meditation. Seeing Hiranyakasipu engaged in this austerity, the demigods returned to their respective homes. But while Hiranyakasipu was thus engaged, a kind of fire began blazing from his head, disturbing the entire universe and its inhabitants, including the birds, beasts, and demigods. When all the higher and lower planets became too hot to live on, the demigods, being disturbed, left their abodes in the higher planets and went to see Lord Brahma, praying to him that he curtail this unnecessary heat. The demigods disclosed to Lord Brahma Hiranyakasipu's ambition to become immortal, overcoming his short duration of life, and to be the master of all the planetary systems, even Dhruvaloka. Upon hearing about the purpose of Hiranyakasipu's austere meditation, Lord Brahma, accompanied by the great sage Bhrigu and great personalities like Daksha, went to see Hiranyakasipu. He then sprinkled water from his kamandalu, a type of water pot, upon Hiranyakasipu's head. Hiranyakasipu, the king of the Daityas, bowed down before Lord Brahma, the creator of this universe, offering respectful obeisances again and again, and offering prayers. When Lord Brahma agreed to give him benedictions, he prayed not to be killed by any living entity, not to be killed in any place, covered or uncovered, not to die in the daytime or at night, not to be killed by any weapon on land or in the air, and not to be killed by any human being, animal, demigod, or any other entity, living or non-living. He further prayed for supremacy over the entire universe and requested the 8 yogic perfections, such as Anima and Lagima. Text 1. Narada Muni said to Maharaj Yudhishthira, The demoniac king, Hiranyakasipu, wanted to be unconquerable and free from old age and dwindling of the body. He wanted to gain all the yogic perfections like anima and lagima, to be deathless, and to be the only king of the entire universe, including Brahmaloka. Purport. Since such are the goals of the austerities performed by demons, Hiranyakasipu wanted to receive a benediction from Lord Brahma so that in the future he would be able to conquer Lord Brahma's abode. Similarly, another demon received a benediction from Lord Shiva, but later wanted to kill Lord Shiva through that same benediction. Thus, self-interested persons, by demoniac austerity, want to kill even their benedictors, whereas the Vaishnava wants to remain an ever-existing servant of the Lord and never to occupy the post of the Lord. Through Sayuja Mukti, which is generally demanded by asuras, one merges into the existence of the Lord. But although one sometimes thus receives the goal of the theory of monism, one falls down again to struggle in material existence. Text 2. In the valley of Mandara Hill, Hiranyakasipu began performing his austerities by standing with his toes on the ground, keeping his arms upward and looking at the sky. This position was extremely difficult, but he accepted it as a means to attain perfection. Text 3. From the hair on Hiranyakasipu's head, there emanated an effulgent light as brilliant and intolerable as the rays of the sun at the time of dissolution. Seeing the performance of such austere penances, the demigods who had been wandering throughout the planets now returned to their respective homes. Text 4. Because of Hiranyakasipu's severe austerities, fire came from his head, and this fire and its smoke spread throughout the sky, encompassing the upper and lower planets, which all became extremely hot. Text 5. Because of the power of his severe austerities, all the rivers and oceans were agitated, the surface of the globe with its mountain and islands became trembling, and the stars and planets fell. All directions were ablaze. Text 6. Scorched and extremely disturbed because of Hiranyakasipu's severe penances, all the demigods left the planets where they reside and went to the planet of Lord Brahma, where they informed the Creator as follows: O Lord of the demigods, O Master of the universe, because of the fire emanating from Hiranyakasipu's head as a result of his severe austerities, we have become so disturbed that we could not stay in our planets, but have come to you. 7. O great person, chief of the universe, if you think it proper, kindly stop these disturbances meant to destroy everything before all your obedient subjects are annihilated. Hiranyakasipu has undertaken a most severe type of austerity. Although his plan is not unknown to you, kindly listen as we submit his intentions. The Supreme Person within this universe, Lord Brahma, has gotten his exalted post by dint of severe austerities, mystic power, and trance. Consequently, after creating the universe, he has become the most worshipable demigod within it. Since I am eternal, and time is eternal, I shall endeavor for such austerity, mystic power, and trance for many, many births, and thus I shall occupy the same post occupied by Lord Brahma. Purport. Hiranyakasipu's determination was to occupy the post of Lord Brahma. But this was impossible, because Brahma has a long duration of life, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 8:17. Sahasra yuga paryantam ahar yad brahmano viduhu. 1,000 yugas equals 1 day of Brahma. The duration of Brahma's life is extremely great, and consequently it was impossible for Hiranyakasipu to occupy that post. Nonetheless, his decision was that since the self, Atma, and time are both eternal, if he could not occupy that post in one lifetime, he would continue to execute austerities life after life, so that sometime he would be able to do so. Text 11. By dint of my severe austerities, I shall reverse the results of pious and impious activities. I shall overturn all the established practices within this world. Even Dhruvaloka will be vanquished at the end of the millennium. Therefore, what is the use of it? I shall prefer to remain in the position of Brahma. Purport. Hiranyakashipu's demoniac determination was explained to Lord Brahma by the demigods, who informed him that Hiranyakashipu wanted to overturn all the established principles. After executing severe austerities, people within this material world are promoted to the heavenly planets. But Hiranyakashipu wanted them to be unhappy, suffering because of the diplomatic feelings of the demigods, even in the heavenly planets. He wanted those who were harassed in this world by material transactions to be unhappy for the same reason, even in the heavenly planets. Oh, what a rascal. Indeed, he wanted to introduce such harassment everywhere. One might ask how this would be possible, since the universal order has been established since time immemorial. But Hiranyakashipu was proud to declare that he would be able to do everything by the power of his tapasya. He even wanted to make the Vaishnava's position insecure. These are some of the symptoms of asuric determination. Text 12. O Lord, we have heard from reliable sources that in order to obtain your post, Hiranyakashipu is now engaged in severe austerity. You are the master of the three worlds. Please, without delay, take whatever steps you deem appropriate. Purport. In the material world, a servant is provided for by the master, but is always planning how to capture the master's post. There have been many instances of this in history, especially in India during the Mohammedan rule. Many servants, by plans and devices, took over the posts of their masters. It is learned from Chaitanya literature that one big zamindar, Suburi Roy, kept a Mohammedan boy as a servant. Of course, he treated the boy as his own child, and sometimes when the boy would steal something, the master would chastise him by striking him with a cane. There was a mark on the boy's back from this chastisement. Later, after the boy had, by crooked means, become Hussein Shah, Nawab of Bengal, one day his wife saw the mark on his back and inquired about it. The Nawab replied that in his childhood he had been a servant of Subodhi Roy, who had punished him because of some mischievous activities. Upon hearing this, the Nawab's wife immediately became agitated and requested her husband to kill Subodhi Roy. Nawab Hussein Shah, of course, was very grateful to Subodhi Roy and therefore refused to kill him. But when his wife requested him to turn Subodhi Roy into a Mohammedan, the Nawab agreed. Taking some water from his water pot, he sprinkled it upon Subodhi Roy and declared that Subodhi Roy had now become a Mohammedan. The point is that this Nawab had been an ordinary menial servant of Subodhi Roy, but was somehow or other able to occupy the supreme post of Nawab of Bengal. This is the material world. Everyone is trying to become master through various devices, although everyone is the servant of his senses. Following this system, a living entity, although servant of his senses, tries to become master of the whole universe. Hiranyakasipu was a typical example of this, and Brahma was informed by the demigods of his intentions. Text 13. O Lord Brahma, your position within this universe is certainly most auspicious for everyone, especially the cows and brahmanas. Brahminical culture and the protection of cows can be increasingly glorified, and thus all kinds of material happiness, opulence, and good fortune will automatically, everything will be lost. Purport. In this verse, the words Dvija Gavam Parameshtyam indicate the most exalted position of the brahmanas, Brahminical culture, and the cows. In Vedic culture, the welfare of the cows and the welfare of the brahmanas are essential. Without a proper arrangement for developing Brahminical culture and protecting cows, all the affairs of administration will go to hell. Being afraid that Hiranyakasipu would occupy the post of Brahma, all the demigods were extremely disturbed. Hiranyakasipu was a well-known demon, and the demigods knew that if demons and rakshasas were to occupy the supreme post, Brahminical culture and protection of cows would come to an end. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 5.29, the original proprietor of everything is Lord Krishna, Bhoktaram, Jagatapasam, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. The Lord therefore knows particularly well how to develop the material condition of the living entities within this material world. In every universe, there is one Brahma engaged on behalf of Lord Krishna, as confirmed in Srimad-Bhagavatam, Tente Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye. The principal creator in each Brahmanda is Lord Brahma, who imparts Vedic knowledge to his disciples and sons. On every planet, the king or supreme controller must be a representative of Brahma. Therefore, if a Rakshasa or demon were situated in Brahma's post, then the entire arrangement of the universe, especially the protection of the Brahminical culture and cows, would be ruined. All the demigods anticipated this danger, and therefore they went to request Lord Brahma to take immediate steps to thwart Hiranyakashipu's plan. In the beginning of creation, Lord Brahma was attacked by two demons, Madhu and Kaitava, but Krishna saved him. Therefore Krishna is addressed as Madhu Kaitava Hunter. Now again, Hiranyakashipu was trying to replace Brahma. The material world is so situated that even the position of Lord Brahma, not to speak of ordinary living entities, is sometimes in danger. Nonetheless, until the time of Hiranyakashipu, no one had tried to replace Lord Brahma. Hiranyakashipu, however, was such a great demon that he maintained this ambition. The word bhutyai means for increasing opulence, and the word shreyase refers to ultimately returning home, back to Godhead. In spiritual advancement, one's material position improves at the same time that the path of liberation becomes clear and one is freed from material bondage. If one is situated in an opulent position in spiritual advancement, his opulence never decreases. Therefore, such a spiritual benediction is called bhuti or vibhuti. Krishna confirms this in Bhagavad Gita 10:41. Yad yad vibhutimat sattvam mamate chong shasam bhavam. If a devotee advances in spiritual consciousness and thus becomes materially opulent also, his position is a special gift from the Lord. Such opulence is never to be considered material. At the present, especially on this planet Earth, the influence of Lord Brahma has decreased considerably, and the representatives of Hiranyakasipu, the Rakshasas and demons, have taken charge. Therefore, there is no protection of Brahminical culture and cows, which are the basic prerequisites for all kinds of good fortune. This age is very dangerous because society is being managed by demons and Rakshasas. Text 14. O king, being thus informed by the demigods, the most powerful Brahma, accompanied by Bhrigu, Daksha, and other great sages, immediately started for the place where Hiranyakasipu was performing his penances and austerities. Purport: Lord Brahma was waiting for the austerities performed by Hiranyakasipu to mature so that he could go there and offer benedictions according to Hiranyakasipu's desire. Now, taking the opportunity of being accompanied by all the demigods and great saintly persons, Brahma went there to award them the benediction he desired. Text 15 and 16. Lord Brahma, who was carried by a swan airplane, at first could not see where Hiranyakasipu by an anthill and by grass and bamboo sticks. Because Hiranyakasipu had been there for a long time, the ants had devoured his skin, fat, flesh, and blood. Then Lord Brahma and the demigods spotted him, resembling a cloud-covered sun, heating all the world by his austerity. Struck with wonder, Lord Brahma began to smile, and then addressed him as follows. Purport: the living entity can live merely by his own power, without the help of skin, marrow, bone, blood, and so on. Because it is said, Asango yayam purushat. The living entity has nothing to do with the material covering. Hiranyakasipu performed a severe type of tapasya, austerity, for many long years. Indeed, it is said that he performed the tapasya for 100 heavenly years. Since one day of the demigods equals 6 of our months, certainly this was a very long time. By nature's own way, his body has been almost consumed by earthworms, ants, and other parasites. And therefore even Brahma was at first unable to see him. Later, however, Brahma could ascertain where Hiranyakasipu was, and Brahma was struck with wonder to see Hiranyakasipu's extraordinary power to execute tapasya. Anyone would conclude that Hiranyakasipu was dead because his body was covered in so many ways. But Lord Brahma, the supreme living being in this universe, could understand that Hiranyakasipu was alive but covered by material elements. It is also to be noted that although Hiranyakasipu performed this austerity for a long time, long time, he was nevertheless known as a Daitya and Rakshasa. It will be seen from verses to follow that even great saintly persons could not perform such a severe type of austerity. Why then was he called a Rakshasa and Daitya? It is because whatever he did was for his own sense gratification. His son Prahlad Maharaj was only 5 years old. And so what could Prahlad do? Yet simply by performing a little devotional service, according to the instructions of Narada Muni, Prahlad became so dear to the Lord that the Lord came to save him. Whereas Hiranyakasipu, in spite of all his austerities, was killed. This is the difference between devotional service and all other methods of perfection. One who performs severe austerities for sense gratification is fearful to the entire world. You guys going?
Appointment at somebody's house, but I'll come and see you tomorrow.
Thank you very much. I'll be here, waiting to see you. Hare
My
Krishna.
son told me you're reciting this.
We're just waiting for them to come back. When he grows up a little bit more, then they can come back. I realize at this stage it's hard. Hare Krishna. Very wonderful to see you again. Okay, I can't. You had so many names, I can't remember any. Chandra, Jai, Chandra, what? Jai Baladev, Chandra. Okay, Jai Baladev, Chandra. Hare Krishna. Hare Bo. We'll see you, Trikalagya. Hare Krishna. Okay, this is getting exciting here. So this guy was a huge demon, and what kind of austerities he could perform, what power he had. Yet his son Prahlad was only 5 years old. And so what could Prahlad do? Yet simply by performing a little devotional service, according to the instructions of Narada Muni, Prahlad became so dear to the Lord that the Lord came to save him. Whereas Hiranyakasipu, in spite of all his austerities, was killed. This is the difference between devotional service and all other methods of perfection. One who performs severe austerities for sense gratification is fearful to the entire world, whereas a devotee who performs even a slight amount of devotional service is a friend to everyone. Suridam, Sarvabhutanam. Since the Lord is the well-wisher of every living entity, and since a devotee assumes the qualities of the Lord, a devotee also acts for everyone's good fortune by performing devotional service. Thus, although Hiranyakasipu performed such a severe austerity, he remained a Daitya and a Rakshasa. Whereas Prahlad Maharaj, although born of the same Daitya father, became the most exalted devotee and was personally protected by the Supreme Lord. Bhakti is therefore called Sarvopadi Vinirmuktam, indicating that a devotee is freed from all material designations, and Anyabhilashita Shunyam, situated in a transcendental position, free from all material desires. Haribo. Bhakti Yoga Ki Jai. Okay, we'll stop there for tonight in our reading. You want to take the mic? No? Anyway, you think about it. Okay. Yes, Pranata. Pranata Karuna has the mic.
Hare Krishna.
Is she all right?
Yes,
I was wondering if this is a correct understanding. I always kind of wondered about this. Hiranyakashipu impregnated Kayadu and then went to perform austerities. And then while he was performing austerities, the demigods kidnapped her and were going to kill the baby in the womb. But then Narada Muni said no and took her and, preached. So Hiranyakashipu did austerities for 100 years. And then when he comes back, Prahlad is only 5 years old.
No, he wasn't born yet. He stayed in the womb all that time. Because while he was in the ashram of Narada Muni, she prayed to him that the child not come out. Because if he did, she was afraid that the demigods would kill him. So she didn't have the child until after Hiranyakasipu came back from doing his austerities.
Who did she pray to?
Narada Muni. He was staying in the ashram of Narada Muni, which is highly unusual for a pregnant lady, for person of that stature for 16 years. Poor mother, Hare Krishna. But anyway, these things happen. And Krishna arranges these things, you know. And Jiva Goswami says that if one can actually, in truth, understand, accept and understand the achintya principle, in other words, that Krishna is actually inconceivable, and that means he can do anything he wants. He can, reverse natural laws. He can do anything he wants, and sometimes he does. So therefore, to understand the Bhagavatam actually, in truth, and that's what it means, Janma Karma Chame Divyam Evam Vyo Veti Tatvataha. So in truth means to understand that it's actually true. These things that to us, from our position in this Kali Yuga in Houston, Texas, 2019, the things that we hear in the Bhagavatam are like, unbelievable. Way unbelievable, especially now being trained in scientific knowledge and understanding and all these things. Therefore, it's not an easy thing to get full faith in Krishna and be able to hear the Bhagavatam as if it is a history of the universe.
Can I ask you a really quick clarification on one point?
Yeah, sure.
So, is it accurate to say that Prahlad heard from Narada Muni for 100 years in the womb?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
He was he knew the subject thoroughly.
Thank you, Prabhu. Exactly, that was one of my questions and confusion for a long time. Like, he was just 5 years old, and
Yes.
His dad performed for like thousands of years.
Yes.
Thank you for clarifying that. Maharaj, the other thing I was thinking while reading the purport of the text 13, if demons and rakshasas were to occupy the supreme post, Brahminical culture and protection of the cow would come to an end, and we exactly know this is happening everywhere, not only in United States but everywhere. This thing is going on because people in the higher post have whatever their actual position is. But at the same time, the thing which confuses me is, as reading the Prabhupada Lilamrit, I forgot the name, but a Bengali politician, he was asking Prabhupada about should we renounce the politics or should he stay, and he was given an instruction to renounce because it's not good for a devotee to be in politics. So I don't know how to understand
This is not a hard and fast law. This is according to time and circumstance and the person. Sometimes Prabhupada would tell somebody to renounce, and somebody would tell somebody not to renounce in the same room at the same time. One time he had two sannyasis in front of him, One of them was the manager of Vrindavan temple and was kind of like a Brahminical type person, not really a manager, but he had him managing the temple of Vrindavan. And another one was a sannyasi who was kind of like a little restless and whatever. And they were in the same room, and he told the one sannyasi, the sannyasi's duty is to travel and preach. So get out of here and start traveling and preaching. Then he turned around and he told the other sannyasi, and your duty is to stay here and manage this temple, because you're a sannyasi. So, these things, that's the will of Krishna, it's the will of the pure devotee. When we try to make a mechanical law out of one instruction and apply it to everybody across the board the same, that's when we get confused.
So how to resolve individual propensity, the instruction should become...
You have to become Krishna conscious. There's a nice story in the beginning of the movement, toward the beginning, not the very beginning, toward the beginning, when devotees started to get married and have children. There was one lady in Los Angeles, very nice devotee, and she got married and had a baby. So after one of the classes, she asked Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, I can no longer do as much direct service. So should I reorganize my life so that I can do more direct service again? Prabhupada didn't hesitate for a second. He said, no, you should become Krishna conscious. Because if you're Krishna conscious, there is no such thing as direct or indirect. And then she said, and you should see your child as belonging to Krishna, and you should take care of that child, and it's your duty to make the child Krishna conscious and train him. And that is pure devotional service. And you'll go back to Godhead by doing that. So that's pure devotional service. It's not dependent on your position. It's not dependent on the external energy at all. Devotional service is the awakening of the natural attraction and affection that you have for Krishna, which causes you to think of Krishna constantly, whatever your duty is. We heard it actually in one of the purports we read just tonight or last night, or maybe I'm reading Chaitanya Charitamrita. I heard, I think in Chaitanya Charitamrita. If you read the section of Lord Chaitanya's discussion with Ramananda Roy from the beginning, then Lord Chaitanya asks questions of Ramananda Roy, beginning with how does one achieve, or what is the best way to achieve perfection in the human form of life? So he immediately quoted a verse about the Varnashram Dharma from the Vishnu Purana, that if you do your duty properly in the Varnashram system, then Lord Chaitanya immediately rejected it. It's external. How can the goal of life be external? And then Ramananda Roy then quoted a verse, the same verse, that said, you do your duty in the Varnashram system and do it for the pleasure of Krishna. That's Daivi Varnashram. And Lord Chaitanya said, that's still material, it's still external. And then he went through a whole, I can't remember exactly the details. I'd have to refresh my memory. But more or less it was, then renounce the duty. And then that was still not accepted. And then he said, renounce the duty with knowledge. And that was still external. And then he said, renounce the duty, and take sannyas. And then that still wasn't acceptable. Then renunciation with knowledge, mixed with knowledge, that's better. And then he went one thing, and then he came to this verse from Lord Brahma, his prayers. Stane stitak shutikatam tanutan manobir. And in that verse he says, stay where you are, don't change externally. Give up speculating about what is the absolute truth. Give up trying to just guess with your own strength of your own intelligence, and hear from an authorized person the glories of Krishna. And Lord Chaitanya said yes. And that was the first stage that he actually accepted as being spiritual, purely spiritual. So that's the instruction for everyone, no matter what your duty in life. If you can learn, especially in Kali Yuga now, we don't have these the ability to do these severe austerities. But by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, we can develop an attachment for hearing about Krishna, and that's why we're all here every day together doing this. That's a fact. And as I said the other day, this is the greatest gift, to get a taste for hearing about Krishna, and you get it by doing it. You can't get it any other way.
Do you have a reference for the prayer?
What prayer?
The one Brahma spoke.
Yeah, it's 10, 14. I Can't remember the number. Let me see. I can't find it. We're in 7.3.17. Remember, remind me.
Yeah, it's screenshot.
You got it? Okay. I will go to... Stane Stitak. Well, yeah, Stane Stitak. It is 10.14.3. Jnane priyasam udapasya namante eva jivanti san mukoditam babadiya vartam stane stitak shutikatam tanuvan manobir ye praya sho jitajiso pyasitrilokyam. Those who, even while remaining situated in their established social positions, throw away the process of speculative knowledge, and with their body, words, and mind, offer all respects to descriptions of your personality and activities, dedicating their lives to these narrations, which are vibrated by you personally and by your pure devotees, certainly conquer your lordship, although you are otherwise unconquerable by anyone within the three worlds. Of course, then Lord Chaitanya said, okay, so that's good. Now tell me more if you know more. And then he just went on and on and on until finally got to Gopi Bhav, ecstatic love for Krishna, ecstatic love in service, ecstatic love and fraternity, ecstatic love and parental love, ecstatic love and conjugal love. Just went through the whole thing. So that's Lord Chaitanya's mercy for this age. Beautiful how the sun is coming, and then the black and the dark, there's a completely black sky, and then the sun is over here, and it's shining on the tree. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of a darshan I had in Govardhan. It was during the rainy season, and I was up on the top of the roof chanting my japa. And sometimes the sky gets like that, only it was completely black. The sky was completely black. There weren't not any forms of clouds or anything. It was just like black, like a black, like background. And our ashram is right, across the road from Govardhan Hill, right? And there was a slit in the cloud just above the hill, and all of a sudden the sun, because it was setting, the sun was setting, and it hit that slit, and it put sunlight on the hill, and all the hill started changing colors. And then all of a sudden, about 25 parrots, green parrots, flew and came right in front of me, started this, and they all turned into emeralds, because of the black and the sun, and they became iridescent. They looked like they were made of emeralds, and they were flying around and chirping and blah, 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 And I was just like, and then I looked over across the way, and all the Brajbasis had come up onto their roofs to look at to get the darshan. It was that far out. And next to us, before they had all that developed, this was early on, this was 1995, 96, something like that. There was no buildings around next to us, it was a field. And they had just harvested the wheat, and there was bundles of wheat, you know, and all the wheat turned golden. So there was these golden things. And then I looked over, and then all the ladies' saris became like super colorful, because it was so magical. That's all I, you know, I went down and I wrote something about it right away. I don't remember where I put it, but anyway. Hare Krishna. So, these, as we say, these things happen. In the material world, we say stuff happens, meaning, you know, usually not good stuff. Stuff happens means they have other ways of saying that, you know. But this was a spiritual way of saying stuff happens. I mean, I'll never forget that darshan. I got some little glimpse of Govardhan, and all the Shilas were like different colors. It was unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah. So, huh? Yeah, I know. But before it was even darker, it was blacker, and the sun was hitting there, and it was very remarkable darshan of the Lord's energy. Hare Krishna. Okay, with your permission, is there something else on the... No. Okay, so with your permission, I'll move on. MoveOn.org. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol.